Yeah, I think he knows. You guys, I think, talk to him tomorrow. He knows he messed up on that call. I have no problem with zero blitzes, especially when people need a lot of yards. You know, if you need to get 20 yards to kick a field goal, I have no problem with a zero blitz. But I do when there's 16 seconds left, and that's where he lost track. There was no necessary need for that just because of the time. I have no problem with the call. But I mean, I have no problem with that play call, but when it's that time, you can't do that. It's not an option.
Peyton Manning said that Kirk Cousins told
There you
him.
go. Sorry, the rest of that doesn't matter.
With that play call, but when it's that time, you can't do that. It's not.
Go back to the beginning here.
He knows. You guys, I think, talk to him tomorrow. He knows he messed up on that call. I have no problem with zero blitzes.
I mean, that's where you beep, 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 beep. Here comes the bus. God, that was, maybe they have just a very transparent relationship, but I didn't expect to hear that from Kyle.
I think there's a balance here. As someone who was critical of like why these public companies and teams have to just lie to you when they know there's going to be a breakup, like Bob Melvin's not coming back. You do not need to put out a statement. And then you clearly have conversations behind closed doors that you don't need to tell the fans / the media in a press conference. Like every coach talks to their assistant coaches about like, we got to do this better. Yeah, I fucked up there. Or the head coach saying, I screwed up there. I shouldn't have told you to do this. I don't need a breakdown of that. And coaches don't give you that. That's what this one feels like. It could have just been, to me, the coach speak on this one. And I've always appreciated his candor in terms of like, that to me is too much. Like that's now I don't respect. Think this guy knows what he's doing? As someone DM'd me today, they're like, do you understand last year when Steve Wilks was running the defense, the Panthers offensively and defensively were not good. And then Steve Wilks gets the head coaching job. He gives the coordinator job to another guy. So he's just the head coach. And then they played better.
I got the same DM.
To me,
I
so
did not
Kyle,
know that.
like, Kyle,
I mean, you knew it.
I think less of Steve Wilks. I don't trust Steve Wilks before this. And now that I know that like you're having these conversations, I don't even think you totally do. To have a comment, he wasn't, what were the exact words? The time? He kind of unsure about the time.
Lost track of the time.
He's not sure about the time. He's sitting right there. It's fucking
Knows. You guys, I think,
30 seconds left.
Yeah, that part, John, was like, wait, he's been a head coach, if nothing else, being a coordinator after being a head coach, understanding clock time management. Or like,
everyone knows the time. That there's
he knows. You guys, I think, left. Talk to him tomorrow. He knows he messed up on that call.
He knows. I think you guys are going to talk to him tomorrow. In other words, like, well, tomorrow he's going to be real sorry. But you guys will hear that from him tomorrow.
I have no problem with zero blitzes.
Nobody thought you did.
Especially when people need a lot of yards. You know, if you need to get 20 yards to kick a field goal, I have no problem with the zero blitz. But I do when there's 16 seconds left. And that's where he lost track. There was no necessary need for that just because of the time. I have no problem with the call. But I mean, I have no problem with that play call, but when it's that time, you can't do that. It's not an option.
This is from the coordinator who got told in a Super Bowl by his head coach, whatever you got to do, dog. Right? I don't know.
I look at this guy differently than I already did, and I already questioned, like, is this going to be smooth? What was Tomlin's thing to McVay? Anyone can get an average player to play good, but being a good coach is about getting your top players to play elite all the time.
He just used great. It's like anybody can get a C player to play like a B player, but getting your B player to play, getting your A player to play like an A+ player, like that's the impressive part.
All the time, right?
All
consistently.
Yeah.
And your $125 million man has 2.5 sacks the last like 10 games. And since the 6 you've been coaching him, has looked nowhere near like the other top guys that we watch all these games.
And by the way, he made a comment himself the other day, like, yeah, you know, we're usually a 4-man pressure team, but this year it's different.
Yeah, this ain't going well. And I know statistically, I saw some people tweeting, you know, before this game where they ranked it. We're just watching the game, and it clearly looks different. And the last year, everyone knew we had a star here. D'Amico Ryan's like a rocket ship. I would say this is trending. Comments like this, you can see one and done on the table.
I appreciate the transparency and the candor as well, John, but I wonder if Kyle would regret it if we showed him that clip now, saying that the way he said it. Because it just puts Steve Wilks in a bad spot. He just put him in. Now, maybe he doesn't care, but I do think he cares. I don't think he wants to embarrass Steve Wilks. He's got no, Kyle is not a messages through the media guy. So of course that's not.
I don't
his
think he's
intent.
embarrassing him either. I just think that he's just
But that is
I think in a
embarrassing.
weird way, like
what
he doesn't care. I know. I just don't
You'd
think
be a
he
little
cares.
embarrassed if you're Steve Wilks and you're like, you just told everybody I lost track of time.
When you replayed that,
Yeah.
he didn't. The way he kind of re-listened to it,
Okay.
he doesn't say Steve.
He
Wilks.
knows he messed
just
up
said
on that
with the
call.
with
I have no
that
problem
time.
with zero blitzes, especially when people need a lot of yards. If you need to get 20 yards to kick a field goal, I have no problem with a zero blitz. But I do when there's 16 seconds left, and that's where he lost track. There was no necessary.
We lost track.
Yeah, or he lost track of just you can't do that in that spot. I don't think he means he lost track of. He thought there's 4 minutes left. But again, that's how everyone's going to take it, and that's all that matters.
The way
And
I
this
take
gets
it
back
is
to what I
lost-
said about Philly. You say this if the Niners were the equivalent of one of the powerhouses in the Northeast, New York, Philly. A lot of people, this won't be that big of a story besides like locally and like the way we talk about it. I think it would be huge.
Yeah. Well, but what I would say is he doesn't. I don't take it as Steve Wilks thought there was 5 minutes. I take it as he lost track of the situation. That's what he's saying. Now, is he saying we? The one thing in another scenario, I might wonder, like, was Kyle paying it? Like, was Kyle off talking to the quarterback right then? Probably not. In the end of the game situation, he probably wasn't, right? In that spot, the head coach is man. There are times where the offensive head coach is off doing.
No, because they're not getting the ball back before half.
But in that spot, I would
probably.
imagine he's paying attention to the field.
Yes.
Does Kyle?
But you also can't micromanager defensive coordinator constantly.
You don't have
It's a fine
time, right?
balance.
When you hear the call go in, it's already out there. They're hurrying up. Like, you don't have time to.
I think this is officially now a problem, and this is something to monitor. It goes back to Bosa saying it, and let's face it: once he gets paid that much money, they don't fire players. And I'm not saying to fire him, but if he doesn't like the guy, he will not be the defensive coordinator here long. Simple, right? You agree with that? If Bosa goes after the season and I hate this guy, Steve Wilks not going to be there.
Yeah, Fred Warner.
And it doesn't
Kyle.
feel like Nick's that way. The way Nick said it after the game was just a scheme. That's not really how we play. Now, if I was going to defend Steve Wilks, I'd be like, hey, Nick, you need to get a little more pressure there, buddy. And all the other 7 of you guys, hey, Javon, we're paying you a lot of money. The guy they replaced you with in Philly is getting a lot more pressure than you currently.
Well,
feels
like you said. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So it's a little rocky right now defensively, which it's always been the other way, right? It's been a rocky quarterback situation, offensive injuries. Defense is something you always could rely on. And right now the defense doesn't feel reliable. When they were getting smoked like that on third down constantly, it's one thing Mahomes or Elway or Brady. Cousins looking at that level, what was a little, I would say, jarring.
It was, but it also
He's a good player, but he owns you.
Well, you said it. I think you said it Monday night. It might be the best quarterback performance you face all year. We'll see. You play good quarterback still in the regular season. It could at the end of the year we could look back at Lamar and we'll see what Burrow does Sunday, and Hurts and Geno and all these games they still got to play and go. That was the best quarterback performance we saw all year. That could be what
if I tell you Lamar, if I tell you Joe Burrow, if I tell you Jalen Hurts, before that game had ever been played Monday night, go 35 of 45 for 378 yards. You're going to go the Niners are going to lose.
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to say, how did they only score 22?
And even if I don't even tell you the score or how many touchdowns you throw, you'd be like,
well, I would assume they scored 43.
Yeah, I would excuse. Well, how many touchdowns? Like 4.
Well, the other thing situationally, when he talks about like we lost track of the time, like it's third down and long. There's 16 seconds left. Don't need to pick it off. Like Mooney Ward, you're a vet, and I know you said it to me, and you're right. Like nobody does it, or maybe Jeff Schwartz said it because I saw it earlier on Sunday in the Colts game on like a third down and long, deep ball to the end zone. Dude intercepts it on like the 3-yard line and starts celebrating. It's like, no, bro, knock it down. They got a punt from the 40. But same deal. I know nobody does it, but in that spot, knock the ball. You don't need to pick it. Actually, if you intercept it, it's bad.
I've come around. Bad situational football all the way around. I would say it's not bad on the pick because you're probably getting the ball back better than where you would get it on a punt, you would think. mean, they
Yeah,
still
look,
could
he's
pin
thinking
you.
take it back to the house. I get
Well,
it.
he already, not even that. He'd already had a pick. He's thinking
Well,
pick number 2.
he already ripped away a pick, right?
Yeah, he's
already had his
thinking
strong pick.
whatever his incentive is, it's 8 picks probably for $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
shit, I'm about to get my 4th up in this bitch.
Yaffe says, "Hey guys, why would Shanahan pass on Jim Schwartz? Doesn't
I
like
don't
him?
think he wants a big ego defensive coordinator.
It would be a pretty pragmatic move to take Jim Schwartz away from the competition, right? If you can't beat him, join him.